Okay, so Q&A call today in the Body First Healing program. There was a question that someone asked, and they asked the question essentially stating that, hey, I've gotten really good at experiencing emotions. This is new for me. I'm able to experience emotions, but the next two steps of that equation, which is express them and which allows for the expelling of the adrenaline and cortisol, or the emotional so the physiological charge, the emotional physiological charge that comes with emotions like adrenaline and cortisol. So I'm experiencing the emotions, but then they're not being expressed and then expelled through the body or released. And we hear that a lot, right? Like, how do I release my trauma? How do I release my emotions? And it's really not so much about releasing them. It's more so about creating a greater capacity, or what we call a container, to be with them. And that only happens in the experiencing process. Okay, so there's a reason why somatic experiencing has the word experiencing in it. Soma means of the body. And the goal of this work is to help people to be with the experience of the body, to be in their body, not out of their body, not quickly expressing and getting out what they need to, but being in the experience. And that is step number one. And it's a big, big step. So what we often see is that people will experience something like anger or anxiety, and they'll immediately jump to, how can I express this or expel it? And so they'll do things like, I need to scream, I need to rage, I need to cry, I need to hit a pillow, I need to do something to get it out. And what's happening is, think about that container again, right? Their container, their capacity to be with the anger, the anxiety, whatever that discomfort is, that capacity is not growing because we're quickly getting it out of the system, getting it out of the body. And the only way that we can expand that capacity in that container is by actually being with it. So I always use the analogy of a hole in the sand. Okay, think of your capacity, and I'm going to use my hands for this. Think of your capacity to be with an emotion as a hole in the sand. Okay, for some people, they have a shallow, small hole in the sand. So very little water, which is the discomfort, the emotion, can be contained. And even the smallest amount of emotion will overwhelm or boil over. Okay, their capacity is too small. Again, it's not that the anger is too big, the anxiety is too big, it's that your capacity is too small. And so what people will often do is, anger will come up and then they'll immediately be like, what do I need to do to express this, to get rid of it? And we'll try for these cathartic releases. But what happens, think of these cathartic releases, these tools that we immediately jump to get rid of what we're feeling. Again, we don't want to get out of the experience of the body. We want to be in it and allow it to naturally process. Think of these as like a sand bucket or a sand tool. How can I use my tools to get all this water out? But what happens is, because we're not allowing ourselves to be with the experience of the emotion, the water is not eroding away at this hole and making it bigger. So our capacity stays the same because we're quickly trying to process, get through, release, get out. And I hear that all the time. How can I release what I'm feeling? And the goal, again, is not to release, because if we're quickly just trying to release, express, get it out, expel, then we are always going to have a small capacity, which means that we are always going to be boiling over, overwhelmed. And that's not what we want. What we want is to grow capacity over time. And in moments where it does start to feel like too much, there are tools that can help us to release, or the body will naturally release itself. So anyways, hope that was helpful. I see that a lot though in this space, that people are like, what are the tools? What are the things? What can I do to get rid of it? And we don't want to get rid of it. We actually want to create a greater capacity to be with it.